Started live.
What's up, guys?
Yo. We in the live session.
Yep.
What's up, guys? It's Justo, J Lobos from Buildworth Strategies, President and CEO. And I'm over here again with...
Chris, I do the marketing for...
He's my marketing guru.
Yep, yeah. he really is the brains. Yeah, he really is,
So, guys, actually, we wanted to go ahead and talk about a topic today, basically on credit cards, how to use credit cards, how to leverage credit cards, talking about balance transfers, talking about when is it a good time to even cancel a card, or when should I apply for a card. So many questions that people actually have. People are always asking me questions, and we just wanted to go ahead and address these, obviously through the live, and however this could obviously be of benefit to you guys out there. So that's what we're gonna go ahead and get into.
Quick shout out, Eric. He said, "What's up?" So just wanted to say, Eric? Just so we can get started. Keep in mind, we're gonna try to do this every Thursday. We want to make sure that we give you guys that content, that authentic content that that I guess only comes across when doing this in person. So
absolutely, we're gonna be trying to obviously do the live every Thursdays before 1. Obviously I know that sometimes my time is kind of limited. I try to be as like putting it together with you. I don't know. I was looking for a word and I couldn't even figure it out. I was gonna say congruent. I don't know. Well, back to what we're gonna go ahead and talk about right now. Let's jump into the topic, which is actually credit cards. One of the questions that I always get is, should I go ahead and close out a credit card, or when is it a good time to actually close out a credit card? And guys, keep in mind that when building credit or trying to maintain healthy credit, the credit card really plays a crucial part, because the credit card holds 30% of the overall credit score. Massive. So in the platform, or in the pie chart, which is the FICO scoring platform, it has 5 different tiers, right? 35% is based on payment history. Every payment on time, obviously anything that's negative holds that 30%. So it's very important to always make your payments on time. The second biggest portion that builds credit, it's actually credit cards, which is the debt ratio. There's the utilization limit versus balances. So personally, myself, I don't like closing out any credit cards on a personal level. I actually have a lot, and obviously that's due to the fact of how I started. Sometimes you obviously have a credit card, maybe a startup credit card, maybe when, a few years ago you were a student, or maybe you were rebuilding your credit and you had to maybe come in with some deposit or some money down. And guess what? Because of that, now you're probably a few years later, now you might have a credit card that even gives you reward points. You might even have a credit card that comes with a lot of benefits. And when it comes to, obviously now you're in a better situation or a position, what do we do with these old accounts? And
So one of the things I wanted to touch on with that he mentioned, which is the importance of making that payment. So first things first is you want to make sure that you make that payment, regardless of if that's the minimum amount. Make sure you make that. That is the most critical part of all of this, because nothing else matters. If you miss that payment, that minimum payment, then everything else kind of goes down the tube. So if you need to make, what is it, like 25, 27?
It always depends on the total balance.
It does.
The more that you have as a balance, then the minimum payment's obviously going to be higher. So one key component when it comes to what Chris is talking about, guys, set up the automatic payment. I have every credit card. I try to do every bill as much as possible, especially my utility bills. You could do this through auto pay, through your own checking account. I would say every bank now offers that, or you could literally do it directly through the credit card by putting the routing and account number. This way you're securing, you're making sure that at least you're covering that minimum payment and you're never getting a late.
CYA,
You got to cover your own ass.
You got to cover it. So one thing that we did kind of mention in a little bit, which is once you've made that minimum payment, you have to identify which is the card that you want to get rid of as quickly as possible, whether it's the one with the highest APR, whether it's the one with the finance charge. I know I have one of those with was it Chase Freedom?
Freedom.
I hate that card.
I actually like Chase.
I want
Chase. I want a Chase credit card. I want the Sapphire card.
So one of the things that I ran into is I had some money I put aside, right? And I went ahead and wanted to propose to my now wife. And, I had to find someone or find a card that I wanted to use. So just to kind of speed up the story a little bit, I decided to apply for, I think it was Zales. Mm-hmm. Zales, there was a ring that she started crying right in the store. So I already knew. It was a given one, So they offered it for, I think it was like 8 months, no interest. And before I even applied for the card, what I considered was, okay, I'm going to make those payments. I don't want to put myself in a bind. So if those payments do come around circle and that 8 months is up, what am I going to do? And I already knew I was going to go ahead and do a balance transfer onto a card that had no interest, that had another promotional period that I can take an advantage of. Can you touch on this a little bit?
Absolutely. But before I go ahead and continue to dive into that one, guys, when it comes, because early in the conversation I was talking about not canceling a credit card.
Yes.
Especially obviously because then you're going to go ahead and tap into a third really important tier when it comes to the FICO scoring platform, which is actually history. So my recommendation when it actually comes to actually closing out a credit card, personally, if it doesn't have any kind of annual fees, there's no, the interest rate's probably not even that high. And again, that's something that I highly encourage for people on a periodic basis, maybe 4 to 6 months, to continually to follow up with their own creditors. And, obviously, depending on where your scores are at, if you've been making payments on time, you've been using that card, you might be eligible for a reduction on the interest rate. So if that's the case, if the rate's not that high, there's no annual fee, then just put the card away. At the end, it's not that good to not use a card because that's the point of having credit is using it. Maybe go ahead and put a small utility bill, $125, maybe pay something once a month and have it as automatic payments. Set the automatic payment automatically to cover the minimum payment on that credit card. This way, the card's getting usage, you're not closing it out, and at the end, it's only benefiting you at the long run. So when it comes down to closing a card, personally, I wouldn't do it. But now, if you have a credit card that has high interest charges, it also has an annual fee, then the best way to close out a card before you do it is grab another one or get another one to supplement the one that you're going to go ahead and cancel. So in a sense, if you have a credit card for $500, obviously the balance, the limit's not that high, but you've had it for a few years. Maybe you have good credit now, so you might be eligible for a credit card. Maybe they give you $1,000. Fine. Once you get that credit card, the other one, just go ahead and close it out. I know there's a few bad ones, especially startup ones like Credit One Bank. I hate that card, but I still got it.
You have to.
Open Sky, it's another bad card, but I have it. And there's other things that I haven't personally closed out myself because I want to maximize on every opportunity that I got. So I hope that helps you guys when it comes to that. So back to what Chris was talking about.
Well, before we even move on, I wanted to touch on, because Justo has a great habit, which I didn't even consider myself until we ended up getting together, which was he has a habit of putting his cards, his utility payments on his cards. Absolutely. So the benefit of that is making sure that these cards that have these bonus rewards, that not only is he paying these utility bills, but he's getting something back in return. I didn't even think of that.
Absolutely.
Touch on it and what you've done.
So two things, obviously, balance transfers, which we're going to touch on just to finalize with regards to what Chris was talking about. But personally, myself, I have a couple of credit cards. I love my Discover card. My Discover card has a lot of benefits. One of the benefits is, depending on the month, you obviously activate it. Maybe it's groceries, maybe it's gas. And every single time that I'm buying, obviously I'm seeing what the rewards are. I activate it and I continually just maximize on that just one card.
Yeah.
I know there was in the month of July.
Gasoline.
Yeah, absolutely. With the gas and stuff like that. In the month of July, I had a little bit over $900 in reward points. I could either go ahead and credit those back to the account. You could use that, or you could go ahead and get a gift card, an electronic card. There's so many things that come with benefits on that. So setting up automatic payments. So I have a lot of cards. So what I've done is that I've gotten, depending on the type of card that it is, especially if it is going to give me reward points, I'd rather maximize on that. So I do at least a utility bill with one specific card. Again, there's other credit cards also that I go ahead and use. I have an American Express, the Platinum one, which is really pretty good. It gives me 5% cash back. Again, guys, you guys, when it comes to actually, is it a good card to have with rewards? Because some credit cards with rewards actually come with a high annual fee. So you're literally going to have to offset the annual fee versus how often are you going to use it? Because that's another thing too. What's the point of having a card that's going to give you 5% cash back, but it has an annual fee of $150 a year? And at the end, in order for you to get those $150 back, you're going to have to do a lot of purchases. And if you're not, if you're not putting your automatic payments or you're not taking advantage of that, what's the point,
Just a quick shout out. Yariel said, hey. Or
Yario Campos. What's up, Yanil? Wancho. Watching.
So I mean, that's one of the benefits. Those everyday expenses that we get nothing back for paying them. The gasoline, going to the restaurant. I mean, how many times have you gone to the restaurant and you had a wallet full?
I think I actually have a couple here right now.
Let this guy show you. It's a little.
No.
It's a little bit much.
These are just a couple, and I even actually just keep the cheesecake right there. I have another one from the cheesecake. I get a bunch of them, especially when I go. Obviously, when you and it's something that's very convenient to me because since I'm literally using it to go ahead and pay things that have to get paid. Yeah. So the concept there is, and I know we've done a video before, especially with Ray on the YouTube, on the Keeping It Real channel, that on how when you're obviously gonna go ahead and already make a normal payment, right? Mm-hmm. Your light, water, cable, right? So instead of using your debit card, consider using a credit card. Yeah. So what you're gonna do is you're obviously, the concept is not to get in debt, guys, because that's the last thing you want to go ahead and do. And if it's something that you don't feel so comfortable, start off with baby steps, easy steps. Especially, when I was in Bank of America, I used to tell my students, especially the ones that are going to college, maybe don't have a physical job yet, or something that, maybe they're probably getting some sort of allowance from their parents, but it's not something solid or stable. If you get a credit card for $300, dude, call the creditor, let them know, listen, don't do an automatic line increase. Just keep me at that right there until you get a job or their income increases, because it's a lot easier to get out of $300 compared to $3,000. Yeah. Right? So that's very important always. But back to what I was saying. So if you're going to go ahead and already make a payment, or you have your car insurance, or you have whatever it is that you have at the house that you're paying off, just use your credit card. But what you're going to do is you're going to get whatever direct deposit you're getting or whatever money you're getting from your employer, you're going to put that away in your checking account. And as soon as the bill comes in, obviously you transfer that you make the full payment, you liquidate the credit card, but at the same time, you're getting credit usage. And credit, guys, it's a snapshot on what's happening right now. So it's very important for that credit cards or those accounts to be constantly active, because that obviously plays a role with the overall aspect on your credit scores. So that's obviously something really important.
So one of the things that we want to kind of discuss is, credit cards, keeping them open. How long should we keep them open? Whether or not you should consider the APR, or if there's an annual fee. You have to keep in mind that these banks, they're not stupid. They're not stupid, and there's whole industries based on finances and what the company is actually going to get in return for that customer, or would be for yourself. So one of the things is you got to make sure that you're using these cards in your best interest. Yeah. So
going back to the APRs and stuff like that, and again, I feel like a lot of the times too, we don't take full advantage.
No pun intended, because I said in your best interest.
Absolutely, yeah. But at the end, it's in our best interest, because we're it's in Spanish thing. Nosotros somos los interesados. So if that's the case, guess what? I'm gonna call my credit card company after 3 to 4 months and just ask for a line increase. Guys, remember, what's going to separate you from good to excellent credit is having $15,000, $25,000 in available lines of credits. The rule of thumb here, especially when you need to use your cards or when you're using your cards, is try not to go over the 30% utilization. Very, very important, because the magic number there is 30. Anything above that, you're eventually going to start reducing your credit scores. So when it actually comes to using your credit cards, it's very important. If you could pay it in full, then just pay it in full, because obviously that's really important too. It's just one of those things that the lower the balance on that aspect of it, the more you're obviously going to maximize on your credit scores. I know what we're talking with regards to the interest rates. Remember, it's in your best interest. So contact your credit card company. If you've had it already for 6 months, you've been making payments on time, you have a decent credit score, 680 and above, then you might even be eligible for a reduction on that interest rate. You might even be eligible for an increase on that credit card. People tell me, how many credit cards is good? How many credit cards should I have, or how many is enough? Well, it depends. For the most part, you want to have as much utilization as possible, because that's going to separate you from the pack.
Open lines of credit.
But now it goes back to the same thing. Guess what? I started off with 2 credit cards and I haven't added a third, but I've been consistent with getting line increase on those 2. Sorry about that. Line increase on those 2, then I don't think you need much, especially, or if you're that person that maybe, you want to have 3 credit cards. And again, depending on where you're actually applying, because it doesn't make sense if you're going into a store, they're giving you a store credit card, and you're never going to go back to shop there again. That doesn't really make any sense. So especially now, I do know that there is stores out there like Macy's, Nordstrom, that when you apply for a credit card, they give you an option, either to use a credit card that you could only use in store, or to use a credit card that comes with the logo of the Visa, and you could use anywhere. Take that card instead, because then that's going to give you even more flexibility. You could put gas with that card. You could pay a bill with that card. You don't only necessarily have to go to that store. So that's obviously something to consider when applying for a credit card.
One of the things that I wanted to touch on was Amazon. Amazon, they offer 2 cards. They offer a Visa card, and they offer a Amazon store card, which is a horrible card. Let me tell you. I don't have it. The interest rate on it is astronomical. I don't know why they give you. Here was the promotion: is that they give you what? It was like $10, $10 credit, and then I was like, no, bro, it's a terrible deal. The other card was a lot better with Visa. It offered 5% back. It offered, I think it was like no interest or something like that. But you have to weigh the options, see what's better, read the fine print, because they're going to try to hide that. One of the things that I did wanted to mention was at one point I was going to make a big purchase. I was starting school at UM, and to apply or to accept the approval into the school, they require that you pay $500. And they don't really tell you that in the beginning when you're applying. I thought it was just the application, but anyways.
I didn't go to That's crazy.
But before I went ahead and paid for it, obviously I was going to put it on the card. I wanted to use it on my Discover. So before I made the Discover, I wanted to make sure that when I charged it, that I was still within my 30%.
Yeah.
And when I spoke to the young lady at Discover, she said, no one really asks that. No one asks whether the balance or the credit limit is going to be still within considering what you're going to be charging. And we were able to figure it out. Obviously, it's just 30%. But she was able to raise it to a certain point where I was still in the green. Yeah. So that's one thing. We want to kind of get that frame of mind in there.
Yeah, just a rule of thumb too, guys. Especially when it comes to having a credit card, if you go above the 30%, that is what it is. If you need to go ahead and use it, then use it. That's the point of a credit card. There's nothing. I went over the 30%. Well, no, it is what it is. If you can pay it down, pay it down. Just keep in mind, there's a couple of rules. There's a couple of little things that I wanted to touch on. First off, remember, keep in mind, guys, there is the billing date and there is a reporting date on your credit card, right? So the billing date is the date that you get the statement and you have to go ahead and make the payment. But there's also the reporting date. Sometimes the reporting date might come before the billing date, meaning that even though that you're paying the account in full at the date that it was supposed to, but 5 days prior, the credit card company sent over the information, because I get this a lot. Who's to look? I already updated my balance. How come I still see the same balance? And I'm like, okay, do you know when they actually report that balance? And if the only way to go ahead and know that is by contacting the credit card company and asking, hey, when do you guys report? If they report on the 5th, you know that on the 3rd or the 4th, because sometimes it even takes 24 to 72 hours. As a matter of fact, Walmart takes up to 5 days for them to update the balance after you've made the payment. So anticipate the date that they are actually going to go ahead and capture that. So if the reporting date's on the 5th, make your payment 2-3 days prior. So this way, when the information pulses on their system, that's the information that's being sent to the bureaus. Very, very important. Another thing too that I wanted to touch on, guys.
That was a pro tip for all you guys out there.
Yeah, man, that's very, very helpful. Especially you're using the system against itself. That's really how I see it. I'm using it to my advantage, right? So another thing too is very important on how we apply for these credit cards. Remember that creditors, the way that they give you balances or limits in this particular case, is based on income, is based on debt. They're obviously is based on credit. So there's a certain criteria that they use in order for you to be eligible for the product, or even for the amount that they're going to give you. So one thing that I would always tell people, especially if you have a spouse, you live with your parents, there's this thing that's called the household income. So when you're going to go ahead and apply for a credit card, include everybody's income. They're not going to request any pay stubs. They're not going to request any W-2s or tax returns. I've never encountered that.
I used to make that mistake as well. I used to just only put household income. I would consider myself, but
exactly.
When I lived with my brother, I didn't consider it.
You could add that.
Even when I was living with my wife, at some point until recently, I wasn't considering it. I'm thinking, I'm such an idiot.
No, it's not that, and I think it's a common practice. I also think the way that either the banks ask or request information, we only feel that it's us that are the only ones that are supposed to put that income.
We're applying for it.
Because we're applying for it, obviously. But in a sense, it's a household income. So you're basically going to add everybody's income together. You're going to put that. That's going to give you leverage. That could potentially give you a higher limit on that credit card. Keep in mind that they're obviously going to calculate all the minimum payments on your credit. And the best time to apply either for a line increase or a credit card is when all your credit card debts are at a very, very minimal. Don't ever, because usually people tend to try to ask for a line increase when they're almost maxed out. And obviously what that's going to cause is you guys are going to get an inquiry. Inquiries could drop your scores from 3 to 8 points per inquiry. So it only makes sense to apply when you know you're going to get approved, because 30% of your credit is based on the utilization. So it's going to offset the inquiry, so you're obviously going to see a boost on your credit scores.
That's another great tip, because I mean it's almost a natural way of doing things. Well, you know what? I don't have those funds. I need those funds to maybe rent that car because my car broke down. So that's a great, fantastic tip that you just gave there. Use it when you have the leverage, or request it when you have that leverage.
Absolutely. If obviously if you're in a good financial position or in a situation, work towards it. One thing too that I wanted to talk about was also a debt elimination strategy, guys, especially when it comes to credit cards. Credit cards, the reason why it holds that 30% within the FICO platform, which is the second biggest, because it's the closest thing to calculating somebody's financial algorithms. So the reason why the FICO platform is 30% is because you could literally see somebody's spending habits, if they're making the minimum payment, if they're paying it in full, how often, how many payments they're paying throughout the month. All of those things are obviously going to matter. So what's going to happen is, when it comes to maintaining a credit card, it's important to know that, guess what? I have to take the responsibility not only of making full payments, but that in the long run, it's only going to go ahead and help you.
So one of the things that we're going to actually be coming out with a video regarding debt stacking or credit card stacking. This is a great way to get rid of those credit cards that have those high APRs, has high annual rates. And this is more of a way so that you guys can have a plan of attack on how to get rid of them. So,
well, just a few key pointers just to throw it out there already. If you do have a credit card with high interest, people ask, which ones should I pay first? So you're going to add all your credit cards, and you're really going to go ahead and start off with the one that has the higher interest rates. Obviously, you're going to pay out. Keep in mind that about 85% of your payment is only interest. This is why it's always a key note, especially when you're about to make the minimum payment. Don't make 3 times the amount of minimum payment. So this way you are impacting the principal. And also what you were talking earlier on about the balance transfers. There's companies out there, especially if you're in a good credit position, that you might be eligible for a balance transfer.
Yeah.
Discover has it with the IT card. They do up to 18 months, 0% interest. There's a double cashback rewards from Citi. They offer a balance transfer as well. Bank of America has balance transfers as well. And those could be really good strategies to get you guys off debt.
Yeah.
So
competition is what only benefits the consumer. So make sure that you utilize everything that's out there to your advantage.
Yeah. Guys, obviously, we're 25 minutes deep.
Yeah.
I hope all this information was fruitful, informational, and obviously, until next Thursday, I'll bring you guys with a different topic. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave comments.
Yeah.
Like, subscribe, and obviously share. If you obviously are interested in obviously learning more about financials, credit, and stuff like that, stay tuned for the next one. So thank you so much. Anything you want to add?
No, we're gonna try to do this every Thursday, we mentioned at the top of the live. And again, you guys have questions. I know you do because we get the phone calls, and we have a lot of people that share the same concerns. So believe me, leave them down in the comments. We're gonna get to you. If you want to, at some point, if you want to, call in and maybe discuss it over the phone. If you're okay with that,
we're working on a conference thing
with
here.
discretion, of course. You're more than welcome. So,
guys, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. And until next week.
Thanks. Bye. Let's get out of there.